Son of a bitch! It worked! What year is it?
It's 2023. Who are you?
I'm from 1985. Me and my buddies was just out in the shed crushing some Budweiser, and we decided we was gonna try to build us a time machine. I guess this shit really worked. You know, you can do anything with you and your buddies in a case of Budweiser.
You might want to go easy on letting people know that's your choice of beer these days, buddy.
Nah, man. I've always supported Budweiser. They really care about the blue-collar people, I'm gonna tell you. I always support Budweiser.
Whatever you say, boss. Whatever you say.
So tell me, buddy, what's changed since 1985? You know, we made some big strides in modern medicine, or what?
Not really.
Well, I mean, have we found a cure for cancer yet? I mean, that was on the docket. We found a cure for cancer?
Nope. But on another note, the chemo industry has raked in about $100 billion on an annual basis for as long as I can remember. So if you got enough money or the right connections, I mean, I guess you could say it's cured.
All right, well, tell me this. You know, we got flying cars in the future. They got, oh, no, cigarette. They got flying cars up in here some bitch now? I don't see any.
Negative. But we do have electronic cars now that you can buy for about $80,000 that'll get you about 200-mile range on a charge. The whole reason for it was they were trying to cut down on the emissions when it comes to like all of the automobiles on the road and stuff like that. But turns out it takes like 6 times the amount of emissions in order to mine the material for the batteries that we need for the electronic cars compared to what a normal car would do in like 3 lifetimes. But it makes people feel better and like they're making a change, but they really ain't doing shit.
All right, well, what about NASCAR? They got them sumbitches going about 300 miles an hour yet? They got them sumbitches rolling or what, Rasky?
Quite the opposite, my friend. They actually slowed the cars down because they were going too fast. And not to mention, they changed the entire layout of the race. I mean, completely.
Change the format of the race? What do you mean, change the format of the race?
Well, like for instance, okay, the Coca-Cola 600 is no longer a 600-mile continuous race where you got to deal with, you know, tire conservation and fuel conservation and strategic maneuvers and overall race strategy or anything like that. None of that's a thing anymore. Now they race in what they call stages, which they run a short amount of laps in a stage where it's like a dash for cash type deal, and then whoever's winning at the end of a stage gets that many points in order to go toward like the end of I'm not really sure about it. It goes towards some kind of point system, but whoever's winning the last stage of the race, they get a trophy to pretty much say that they've accomplished absolutely fucking nothing. Not to mention that, you know, like there's no more of this run what you brung type deal, like all the boys working out in the garage trying to make the cars as fast as they could in order to get an edge. No, all the cars are identical, and not that it really matters, but just while we're on the subject, they totally took the rebel flag completely out of NASCAR. Completely. It's gone.
Jesus, didn't see that one coming. Son of a bitch, you see that fine-ass woman walking right there? Are all the women in the future that fine?
Yeah, buddy, look, you really don't want to do that anymore either, at all.
Do what? Do what?
Yeah, like in today's time, you can't just assume that that was a woman, right? And if you were to go up and address that person as she, it might offend it.
But she had tits.
Doesn't matter.
What the hell is going on in the future?
Well, let me break it down for you. Hang on a second. Get my handy dandy notebook here. I've been jotting down some notes for a couple years now, waiting on a situation like this. So let's see what we got here. The country's in the biggest debt that it's ever been since the creation of the United States. Our veterans are the least taken care of group of servicemen and women in our entire economy. We basically, you know, send them overseas, they come back, we give them a thank you and a fuck you right in the same sentence. So we don't take care of them at all. The American people no longer trust the election process because some shit that happened a couple years ago, but I'm sure if you hang out long enough, you'll hear about that. Let's see here. 3 years ago, along with that, there was this like huge pandemic that completely overrun the entire world, right? And they basically said that if you don't take this vaccine that we whipped up like within like 6 months, that you're subject to lose your job, as well as like all the benefits that you've built up over 30 years of working at that job. All of that is subject to be lost if you don't listen to what we say and take this vaccine that we know nothing about. So that was great. That was a good time. I remember that. Just like we were just talking about though, another point here is you can no longer assume anyone's gender at all. I mean, you can't, if you assume somebody's gender and they don't identify as what you called them, you're considered a bigot, and you will be a subject of like talk radio and social media posts and national news and all that stuff. It's better just to not assume anything these days. While we're on the gender subject too, it's no longer assigned at birth. That's where this whole thing stems from, is like now children have the ability to choose what they identify as. And it doesn't really matter what they say. And what I mean by that is like they don't have to identify as humans. There ain't like no guidelines that you can rather be male or female or anything like that. No, there's all kind of shit. Now there's like 13 different genders that you can be. Not to mention that they don't have to be human, like I said before, because now we're having to put litter boxes in our elementary school and middle school classrooms for those that just decided one day that they want to identify as like a cat or a dog. So just keep an eye out for that. I haven't seen it personally yet, but there's reports of it all over the nation. I've just been lucky enough not to have to deal with that. Let's see here, what else we got. Oh, speaking of schools, we have completely taken God out of schools, right? There's no more prayer or anything like that. And while we're on the subject of schools, one last thing, it is no longer like a rule, and it is perfectly socially acceptable to not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem in order to honor our like fallen servicemen and women who fought for this country in order to keep us free. You don't have to honor them anymore. You can sit down if you want to, and nobody can say anything about it, or you're considered a racist. That's just, you know, that's been a couple years ago now, but it still holds true. On top of that, you know, like mental illness is running completely rampant through our entire nation at this time. And for some reason that I haven't figured out yet, nobody wants to make the connection between our increase of mental illness and the fact that we took a vaccine that they threw together in like 6 months. I mean, I didn't personally take it, but a lot of people did because they were forced to. But now mental illness just seems to be like an all-time high, but nobody seems to be making that connection because they coincide like timeline. They're like dead on, you know. But I mean, I'm not a scientist. I don't have the lab or anything like that to prove it. That's just might be a conspiracy theory of mine. Let's see here. What else do we have? Yeah, on top of that, I mean, pretty much, you know, it's a shit show. It's just a complete and total shit show all the way around. You spend more filling up your tank now than what y'all would spend on groceries in like a year in your time, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. But we're sitting on like one of the biggest oil reserves in the entire world at this nation, but for some reason we just keep shutting down pipelines and stuff. I haven't quite figured that one out either. Basically, I don't know what's going on. I'm just reporting to you the notes that I've been taking, trying to figure it out, because I'm one of the type of people that I have to read shit in order to understand it. But this ain't making a fucking lick of sense to me at all. Zero. I don't know what to tell you, but that's what's going on in America right now. And don't ask me why. Fuck it. I think I'm just gonna go on, just get my shit together here, and I'm just gonna roll on back to 1985. That sounds good. Please take me with you. Come on, man. Get your shit. Ain't nobody gonna have to deal with this. Shit.